Rising property taxes rattling homeowners across Missouri. Lawmakers in Jefferson City say they're now working on relief. WGE Missouri Capitol reporter Hannah Falcon reports on the push to curb property tax hikes.
Different parties, but their message is the same.
Our focus is going to remain on affordability.
Senate Democrats are focused on affordability.
Missouri senators are united on something, their focus on the rising cost of living. Senate Floor Leader Tony Luetkemeyer made his mission this year to address rising property taxes.
That burden is becoming unsustainable. No one should be taxed out of their home by government.
Luetkemeyer wants to limit the amount property taxes increase year to year. For example, capping it at 5% or the rate of inflation.
I think what we would like to see is more predictability in the amount that property taxes can increase.
Do we need to be making that decision here at the state level? I mean, I'm sure we're going to have that debate.
Democratic leader Senator Doug Beck questions how lawmakers can still support public services.
People go to the polls, they vote for tax increases on their property taxes to support their schools, their fire departments, and things of that nature.
More proposals are expected out of the House this year after a panel of lawmakers traveled the state this summer to gather ideas and grievances from Missourians.
August 27th.
A plan for property tax relief in some counties was passed during a special session last year, but it is currently being challenged in court. Reporting in Jefferson City, I'm Hannah Falcon.